Hello, winners. Welcome to Two for the Win podcast with your hosts, Nick and Will. I'm Will and excited to be with you here today. We are ecstatic about launching this podcast. This has been something we've talked about for a while. And so for you, our winners, our listeners, we will have three main themes that we talk about throughout the week. We're looking to do 3 podcast sessions weekly. Monday Mindset, where we talk about leadership and mindset. Wanderlust Wednesday, where we talk about travel and various travel experiences in the travel industry. And then Fanatic Friday, where we talk about sports, which should definitely be a lively discussion, since unlike leadership, mindset, and travel, where Nick and I have a lot of common interests, outside of sports being a common interest, we don't have the same affiliations, and some of those teams tend to be rivals. So that should be very interesting discussion. But very apropos that our first podcast is going to be based on mindset, and looking forward to bringing these episodes to you and hope you find them valuable and glean some useful nuggets. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Will. I'm super excited, like you, to get started with our first podcast. I think it's going to be very interesting in different topics. So, eclectic. Super excited to start.
Yeah, as well. And I think, this one being our Monday Mindset podcast is apropos, because I know you and I, when we first met, that was one of the things that instantly was like a connection, because we had the similar kind of mentality, kind of going out, making things happen. We're both leaders in the organizations that we're with. And so I think it's apropos in terms of that. The other area that I think is really quite interesting is, with the travel. And I think, obviously you can see on our shirts with Dream Vacations, and you've been doing this for a while now and creating great experiences for people. So excited to talk more about that. And then, we obviously enjoy sports. We travel a lot to see sports live. We follow sports quite often. We both played sports. You were a professional basketball player in Europe. I wasn't, but I did play.
Hey, that's the most important. The love of the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anything, from your point of view that you maybe want to share with our listeners real quick before we dive into our, I know we promised we had a big announcement, so we will get to that, I promise. But anything you want to share with the listeners first?
Yeah, you covered it pretty well. I think the most important is to understand that those 3 topics may not be aligned, but they are all 3 very interesting on different sectors. So I know already that by starting to explain what's coming, we already have some people reaching out and asking, what it's going to be like and things of that nature. And I think that everybody will like at least 2. It's going to be leadership mindset. I think that majority of people are interested to actually get better in their day-to-day life, in the way that they think, the way that their mindset work. And then, or they will be interested by travel, because majority of people love travel, or sports. So it's going to be 2 of the 3 minimum, I believe, that you guys may be interested. And the good thing is that since they're going to be separated, you can follow us for either of the 3, 2 of the 3, 3 of the 3. It's not going to be a problem at all. Like Will mentioned, for the travel piece on the Wednesday, Wanderlust Wednesday, we're going to explain more in detail on the next episode on Wednesday. But it's going to be mainly like explaining the why we did started, the what can we do for you, but also explaining different type of vacation that you have access with us. Also, maybe some offers of the weeks, offers of the month. So it's going to be very interested to connect it and to understand what's happening week over week. And finally, for the sport, yes, we're going to talk mainly about football, but it's going to be some basketball, UFC, and others, depending on what's happening during the weekend. So stay tuned for all of that.
Yeah, fantastic. And, as we know, as we've gotten to know each other over the years, sometimes we share opinions and sometimes we don't. So it should be an interesting banter back and forth either way. And really excited to bring these topics to our listeners, and hope they find them as enjoyable as we do experiencing them.
Absolutely.
Things like, okay, well, we put out a teaser trailer. And one of the things that, to announce the launch of this podcast, Two for the Win. And one of the things that we promised was we had this big announcement about a launch. So I think we're probably ready to go ahead and go that direction.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So the big announcement is my co-host, Mr. Nick Mornard, is going to be a first-time author, as he has published the book Mindset is My Degree. And that will be launched on October 1st. You can get it on a variety of platforms, including Amazon and Audible. And just congratulations to you,
Thank
Nick.
you.
I know that's been a long thing in coming. And actually, just for our, in case you can't read it on the camera, it's called Mindset is My Degree. Transform your thinking, transform your success. And, obviously knowing your story, I think you have a very compelling story, being born in Belgium, coming to the United States, not knowing the language. Now you're a citizen. I mean, so you're fully committed, but just the whole process of what you went through. And so I think there's so many really useful nuggets that people are going to be able to glean from your story and find inspirational. But regardless of what I think, what's really important is, I think, what made you decide to write a book about your journey, and like high level, what are you hoping people can take away from it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, the why, it's interesting. So after moving to the US, I moved to a town here in Babcock Ranch, Southwest Florida. And after explaining, telling my story, when people ask, they hear my accent and they're just wondering where you come from. And then I explain, and then they want to know, how did I move here? What step did I make? And when I explain the story, I always have the same kind of feedback. Wow, they all very curious and amazed by the steps that needed to be made to actually come and live in the United States. And so from that, with the mindset that is needed, that is explained in the book, in order to be able to make that big transition without knowing the language and not knowing anyone, moving really with 6 luggages, they start asking me question about, like, can you help me? Can you help me because I'm struggling with something in my life that I cannot go through because of my mentality? I don't think it's possible. So maybe you can help. So I start mentoring people left and right. And then sometimes I get requests, can you talk to my son? Can you talk to my daughter? My neighbor asks, can you help me with something with my wife? So I was not expecting that, but I realized that I have something to share with the world that may impact some people. And like I always said, if it can impact one person positively, that's a success. And that's the reason why I thought about writing the book the first time.
No, that's fantastic. And, the theme itself is obviously very interesting and impactful. But mindset itself is a broad topic. So how do you define it? And why do you think it's so essential for people in order to progress forward?
Absolutely. So on the book, you will understand a little bit the reason how I built my mindset. But I think for me, it's about, when you think about doing something, you always think, it's human, about the challenges that you're going to get by doing it. And so what I try to convey in the book with a lot of example and other things is, if you want to achieve something in life, you will definitely have those challenges, those roadblocks, the fear of failure. You will feel all of those things. But if you can prepare yourself and understand that it's coming, regardless of how prepared you will be, you will have that. But you have the end vision inside, you will be successful. I truly believe that you will be able to navigate those challenges in order to reach where you want to be. And I think that's something you can work on daily by having a mentor, by reading book, by listening to Audible, to really prepare yourself for what's coming. And then you will be able to navigate those challenges a lot better.
Yeah, no, makes total sense. And when you think about like your own personal journey, were there certain mindset shifts that you experienced as you grew from a child to an adult, or maybe a personal experience that was really pivotal that you felt helped shape your mindset to what it is today?
Yes, I do believe so. And again, through those episodes, you will realize how big of a sports person I am. And the reason why I'm saying that is, I truly believe that everything starts with me with sport. At 3 years old, my parents put me literally threw me in the pool for me to learn to swim. The reason being is that we had a vacation home in Belgium where, there around lakes and pools all over. So they wanted me to be safe in case I fall on the water, that I can get myself back to the land. And so after like a month or two of getting like classes to learn to swim, I start getting extremely intense and focused at a very young age, to be able to get better at swimming. And so at that time, I realized, I didn't realize, I was way too young, but my parent realized, oh my God, he really wants to get better. He wants to learn, he wants to get better. And I became a fish. I was more in the water than actually on land. Fast forward, I will, explain my story in short. So fast forward, I start playing basketball. I was definitely not the most athletic. I was not definitely the most skilled person, but I was tall, and it was all I was. But I refused to be classified as the tall guy who with no skills. So I start training by myself, and I start doing like summer leagues and things like that to get better, to reach a level where I was able to play, for money, so play professionally. So this is something that really shaped my mind. By if you want to reach something, if you want to arrive somewhere in life, you will not, all those challenges will dissipate, and you will actually reach it because you will work harder than others to get there. But this applies for everything other than sport as well. Other example is language. I'm born, in the French side of Belgium. So French is my mother tongue. I was the worst at school. Like I couldn't pass a class in Dutch. Well, first professional team that I played for was in the Dutch side of Belgium. I didn't appreciate the fact that everybody were making the effort to speak French with me on the training, my teammates, and I was not able to replicate in anything in Dutch. So I decided to learn by myself the language of Dutch. So online, on the phone, Duolingo here in US, exactly the same thing that I was doing in Belgium. And after 6 months, I was becoming more and more fluent. After a year, I was speaking more Dutch than French. And so those things makes me believe that if you really want something and work for it, you can achieve anything.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think so many times, I think you've seen some of those graphics where they have somebody who's like mining underground. There's two miners, and then one's above, that. And you see one, they're both around at the same spot where they're about to hit the diamond mine, and one's going forward and one got frustrated and turned away. So sometimes it's just perseverance, right? Just sticking through and outlasting others and not giving up. And then other times it's like you're saying, you're doing that, but you're also honing the skills. You're being more efficient and effective in what you're doing. And that can lead to really positive results.
Absolutely. Sometimes you're so close to where you need to be, but you turn around, like the analogy with the miner. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you think about, like, everyone experiences times where they get stuck or discouraged, in those kind of situations, are there a few like practical steps that you would recommend people take to kind of, move forward to get unstuck or start building some momentum? And if so, what would those be?
I will give some example, but there are more than one way to succeed in life. I truly believe so. I will just share what worked for me. I think take a step back. You will get time where it's going to be frustrating. Like you mentioned, time that you will wonder, oh my God, should I continue? The example that I will share here quickly is after the first 8 months in the United States, I was based in Miami side. I had zero money left. So because money disappeared very quickly in South Beach. And so I said, okay, what am I going to do? I start speaking English better, but I was definitely not fluent. I still have work to do, but I'm getting there. But I'm like, okay, what should I be doing? And I have the voice, in my head from my dad, from my mother, from friends. Come back. You have your life in Belgium. Don't worry. But I refuse to take the loss and the not the loss, but to giving up of my dream to move to the United States and stay and live in the United States. So the East Coast didn't really fit me well. So I decided to move Alligator Alley and going on Southwest Florida, so Fort Myers area. And I literally was sleeping on a mattress on the floor at someone's house that I found on roommate.com for 2.5 years. So for 2.5 years, I was literally renting a one room, sleeping on a mattress on the bed for 1.5 years. And I'm not ashamed to share that because it makes the person I am today. But I struggled for a long time, like 3+ years. But for 2.5 years doing that, I went, not afraid to say, I went to Costco once a month, buying hummus, a piece of bread, hummus bread, bread with hummus.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was eating every day with the water from the fridge. Like, that's what I was doing for 2.5 years. And once a month, for Sunday football, I remember I go to a very cheap pizza place to buy a big pizza for Sunday watching football. It was like under $10, sorry. And so I went through all those steps, but thinking about the end goal, thinking about, okay, my dream, the American dream, makes me go harder, makes me go through this. Taking a step back and looking at what's going to be the end results makes me go through. Talking to some positive people around me make me go through. And I think that's what's very important. It's like, you need to put yourself around people who have the same mentality. I mean, like I always said, and it's cliche, but that's something that my first mentor in Belgium when I was 19 years old shared with me. Nick, you are the average of the 5 person you spend the most time with. And that struck with me. I'm like, I need to find people that have that entrepreneurship, like that positive mindset, in order to, or more I be around those people, or more I will be, positive when I go back home, And that's exactly what I was doing. It was hard. I need to learn, a lot of things, the language and other things, but it helped me go through those 2.5, 3 years at that time. And then after, little by little, you get the little luck you need by pushing it. And that's what makes me go through this time and start my journey to actually make something out of the life in the United States that I was dreaming of.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And there's a couple things you mentioned that I want to dive in deeper. But before I get to the one around your circle of influence, right? It's basically what you're talking about. I'd like to go back to, you mentioned the American dream. And for someone like myself, who was born here, who in a lot of ways knows no different than what, being born in America and the opportunity it provides and all the different things that comes with it. But I was wondering if you could share with our listeners, like, what is your perspective, or how do you define the American dream? Because obviously it inspired you to come over here, but I think it would be pretty powerful for people to hear it in your words as somebody who isn't native to America, and how you would describe it.
Absolutely. It's everything is in the book, but I will summarize it. So now, at 9 years old, my parents, with my godfather, brought me to Florida for the first time, and I saw how big everything were here. Like, I saw Disney World. I went to Tampa. I remember Sarasota. And I'm like, wow, everything is so huge. It's palm trees everywhere, like beautiful sunshine. I mean, and I was like struck by that. And it never left my mind. I came back home and I started putting flags everywhere, United States flag everywhere in my room. And from there, I said, one day I will live there. But what is the American dream? It's really the opportunities. In Belgium, I will try to not speak too bad about another country, but in Belgium, they push people to be working for companies, and be employee. That's the normality. If you want to be self-employed, build businesses, they will kill you with taxes. I mean, I was self-employed and I was paying 53% taxes. I know. Then we have a way better healthcare. We have a almost free education. That's why the taxes are so high. But I much rather, work for what I want to do and deserve the money that I have, and not give everything to government for people who actually want to do those things or want to utilize those specifications. So I love the fact that the United States is totally different. They push you to be self-employed. They push you to build things. In Florida, I mean, when I see the difference in taxes, I'm laughing based on what I used to pay in Belgium. The sport, I'm so much in sport. The sport mentality. People literally stop living for 4 or 5 months when it's American football, US football. Saturday, Sunday, it's like barbecuing. It's like talking trash with your neighbors. And I love that mentality. It's different. You can go to a game without fighting. In Europe, you go to a soccer game, it's a big derby between two teams. Forget it. You need to be escorted by the cops in the stadium, outside the stadium. It's another style. I don't know how to explain, but you need to live it to believe it. But here, I really love the opportunities, the mindset of people. Mainly, they're
all types.
well, exactly. Yeah. But it's mainly that makes me really want to come to the United States.
No, that's fantastic. And I think now bringing this to where we were talking about, or you were talking about, I'm sorry, your circle of influence. You're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. I know you and I personally have talked about this because we both have been on similar journeys where, in order to grow, sometimes you have to adjust the people you hang around with. Not everyone has maybe the same vision, same desire. They have good intentions usually, but sometimes it's more of a fixed mindset and pulling you back. So as you think about your eventual migration from Belgium to America, like, do you have some examples or maybe a short story that talks about how you went through some of those changes of the 5 people you hang around with most?
Absolutely. But it was more, it happened in US, but the most defined moment was really more when I was younger. So when I was 18 to 20 years old, I was playing basketball. I was DJing. I lived the dream life of a young kid, like a young adult. And so after a while, I realized that everybody around me were like 10 plus years older than me, all my friends. And they were still living that lifestyle, going out, partying. They were all married, divorced, seeing the kids every other weekend. And I realized I like them. They're good people. But if I continue to hang with the same people that I was hanging, I will probably going to end up the way they are. And so that's not the life I wanted. So I decided to, separate myself a little bit from the group that I was in and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to build things. So I start, like I said, like trying to find a mentor. So when I found my first mentor, her name was Karima. She was phenomenal. She actually she gave me a lot of tools to put my mindset the way that my mindset is today, by believing and by understanding the challenges, exactly everything I explained. She actually explained me all those things back when I was 20 years old. And then I start hanging more with her and her circle of influence, which were all entrepreneur, business owners and things like that. And I was speaking their brains. I wanted to do what they were doing, and I want to follow their path. And then I believe that you always take something from everybody, like a little thing. If you can take one thing for each person you talk to, you will be able to build your own. So the goal is never to take, you read the book and you want to do 100% of what's in the book. I don't think it's the goal. The goal is something that you realize, I can implement that to my day-to-day, to my week-to-week. And that's where I define success in taking a mentor, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of times it sounds like, one of the things that was in your response is just take action, just start, try to get that momentum building, be comfortable being uncomfortable, and move forward. So when you think about, for yourself, your own personal mindset, when you hit little bumps in the road, like what are some things that you do for yourself to kind of get back on track, like beyond just like thought? Are there certain activities or certain things you do that kind of resets the energy and gets you back on the path you want to be on?
100%. We are human, so we are not perfect, and we go through up and downs. We have personal lives, so things happen. Something that works for me, I go to the gym. I work out a little bit more than I usually work out, probably. I take time outside. I go outside on the patio. I smoke a cigar. In moderation, but I smoke a cigar, and I just don't think. I try to not think, and then also bigger is travel. I travel a lot, but take a few days vacation with friends and just just having fun, like playing some poker, hanging out, watching sports with a group of friends and things like that. That's what reset me, like set me back on track. That when I come back home, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. For me, it's music.
There you
So,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
music. I like EDM. You
Mhm.
can, I don't know how well you can see it, but they got the Tomorrowland Cup because I went to the Tomorrowland festival with you on the 20th anniversary, which was a bucket list item for me for sure. But yeah, it's music. So even sometimes at work, if I'm in between meetings, I got like 30 minutes and I had maybe a challenging conversation or frustrating or whatever, yeah, all the different things that can come up. I'll just start playing some music, reset the energy. Same thing when I'm at home. I don't commute to the office every day like we used to since the pandemic. So that used to be an easy way to do it. I would just listen to music either on the way to work or back. Now I almost have to be more diligent, like thoughtful about making sure I put it on because I'm home a lot more. And so, but that's something that's always worked for me. It's been music.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, there's more than one thing that people do, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pivot now. We talked a lot about the mindset and some of the themes from the book. Again, mindset is my degree, launching October 1st on Amazon and Audible. But let's go to the process. I mean, you decided to become an author, write a book. A lot of people struggle sometimes with what they call writer's block and do that. So tell us a little bit about the intricacies. Like, how did you go through the process of, crafting this book?
Yeah, it was a long process. I mean, long, actually not. I started October 1st last year. So it's actually a year between starting and finishing and publishing. So it was actually fast. It's not the biggest book, but it's I didn't want to look at the amount of pages, but more the quality of the content. So that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, so looking at different publishing companies was the number one. Making sure that I understand, what the value proposition for each of them were, and which one I believe the most in me. So that was the number one. And also, since it's my third language, there is I do tons of mistakes, still do by talking, but I never learn English, at school. So it's can you imagine like the grammatical mistakes and things like that as well, and then the formulation of sentences and things of that nature. So I had also the help of Vincent, who is an angel writer. I will put his name and everything in the podcast description. He was instrumental with me to help me, craft, on paper what my thoughts were way better. And so that was instrumental. I was talking to him 2-3 times a week, making sure that the progress were where it's supposed to be, helping me again to when I hit a roadblock, when I'm not sure what's next. Well, he asked me a lot of questions to understand the pathway. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, no, you make me think about this. You make me think about this. So a help, something like that for someone like me who never ever wrote in his life was instrumental. So that was definitely the steps. And then when the book is done, then it's all the production phase will start. But thank God my publishing company was really taking care of everything from A to Z. So I was just providing the blurb, providing the title, subtitle, everything like that as we go. So they asked me, Nick, now the next step is to provide this. So I was guided pretty much, which I needed because it was totally new for me. But it's a great experience, but it's a lot of learnings.
Oh, I can imagine. Was there one that stood out more than another where I'm sure you anticipated it wouldn't be all smooth sailing? There'd be different roadblocks along the way, but something where you really didn't anticipate, it came out of left field, and having that partnership with the publisher really helped to overcome?
Yes, it was more. The last 4 chapters of the book, 4 or 5 chapters, is 100% about leadership and steps of leadership that I utilize, that works very well in my day to day. And that's something I was not thinking to really go deeper into it. It was more about mindset. But I realized there is more to offer, and it's thanks to also the publishing company and Vincent, who came up with, hey, Nick, what about everything you do day to day with your teams, with your mentees, left and right here at Babcock Ranch? What steps do you do? And then that's what I started implementing in the book, and I realized I can have like a day to day leadership development kind of pathway to use. So that was huge for me at the end. Yeah. So that's definitely something that add a lot of value to the book.
No, that helps. I can only imagine. Like I wouldn't even know, where to go and just starting. But I guess if you could take or say 1 to 3 words that you would say best describe your journey of becoming a first-time author, what would those words be?
Daring, reflecting, and perseverance.
Excellent. Oh, fantastic. And so I think we could probably say those words would apply as maybe advice for people who may be aspiring to be a first-time author.
100%.
Anyone out of those 3 in particular you want to like share a little tidbit of an example? Like, what do you mean by daring or through perseverance? Like any kind of like advice you could give someone?
I would say perseverance. When you hit roadblock a week that you don't think about anything at all that you could put on a paper or talk to with Vincent, for example, well, don't let that week interfere with the rest of the month. And I think that's something that I struggled a few times during the process when I'm like, I hit blank. I had no idea. And then by talking to you and by talking to Vincent, I realized it comes back, like I realized, like we talked through some events in my life and I realized, okay, here. So that's probably what you will hit roadblock like everything you do in life, same as you write a book. And yeah, talk to people, relax, take a step back and start again the week after.
Fantastic. So as you think about, you have the book launching October 1.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? What's next for you, Nick?
Whew. Well, let's just start with the release of the book. So it's coming out tomorrow. So I'm extremely excited with that. So we have a lot of marketing going on for Amazon, Audible, Kindle. So I will see what the feedback is from the readers. Once I get the feedback from the readers, I will go from there. If I see that there is a lot of people being impacted, maybe more than I think, well, then I may think about a number 2, because I believe I have more to offer, but I want to listen first to the audience to see if it's worth doing it or not. And based on the feedback of the audience, we will know where to go next.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. And I think, one of the things when you talk about marketing the book, it sounds like you've been invited to be a guest to a number of podcasts already. And so where you can talk about the book and things like that. So it sounds like you have a lot of activity coming up with this exciting launch.
Yeah. So, I will be on between 10 and 15 podcasts as guest on leadership mindset. So I already start some interviews that are going to be published between October and December. So between October and December, you will probably see me in a lot of different podcasts. I'm very excited about that because it's a new journey for me, but it's a new journey of learning. And from there, who knows, I can maybe get back into public speaking like I used to do for 8 years back in Europe, in French and Dutch, of course. So, but yeah, so again, it opens new opportunity, new doors, and helping more people.
Excellent. So any last words of advice you would like to share with our winners, our listeners to, about becoming a first-time author or the process or just about the theme of the book around mindset?
Yeah, I will use the theme on the book. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. Those are just experience of learning. You will learn through that. And I think you said it best because you're an amazing leader and you said the best all the time. Like, there's no failure, it's just learnings. So when you go through it, as long as you learn from it and not repeat the same mistakes. So I would say, don't be afraid of the issue that may rise from what you try to accomplish. Think about what, when you are passing all those challenges, those mistakes, how great it will be at the end of the tunnel. And that's the message that I want to convey the most.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I think for me personally, that was, as a youth, one of the larger things I had to overcome, and even an early professional, was the fear of making mistakes, trying to be perfect from the onset. And, we've talked a lot, you and I and others, around the version 0.5 concept, right? Just get started, get something going. You can iterate along the way. But I think, I'd be remiss if I didn't include a Vince Lombardi quote, being the Packer fan that I am, around what he had said, very first meeting to the Green Bay Packers in 1959. They were 1-10 the year before, basically the same exact team. And the first message to the team, he went up and said, listen, there is no perfection, but we are going to strive to be perfect in everything we do. Focus on the details, the little things. And along the way, we will achieve excellence. And that team ended up becoming one of the more iconic teams in all of pro football for that stretch of time that he was the head coach. And I think it's exactly what you're saying. Just start. Don't be afraid of the mistake. Nobody's perfect. We're on a journey of continuous learning and development, but just start, learn, iterate as you go. And as you look back over time, you'll be amazed at the progress you made. So I think for those you highly recommend, again, Mindset is My Degree by Nick Mornard. Please pick it up, launching October 1st. So many good nuggets in this book that relates to things that we talked about and other things that we didn't have a chance to talk about. Hence why you should get the book. But anyway, congratulations.
Thank you. We'll appreciate it.
That's fantastic. All right, winners. So here we are, first podcast under our belt. How do you feel?
I feel fantastic. I feel like we're not even recording. That's the kind of conversation we have pretty much every time. So
yeah, for sure. No, really looking forward to doing this, and hope all of you have found some value and gleaned at least one nugget from this conversation. Again, we'll continue to grow and develop these podcasts, but on Monday, you can expect the Monday Mindset. So it'll be a theme on mindset and leadership, and we'll have guests and different things that we incorporate to add some fun and excitement to it. And then Wednesday will be Wanderlust Wednesday. So please join us this upcoming Wednesday where we talk about travel, and really excited to share some experiences around that. And the same thing, we'll have some guests and people to talk about some of their travel experiences. And then later on Friday, we will have Fanatic Friday to talk about sports. That one should not be a tame session at any time, I don't think, because we do have some difference of opinions on certain things when it comes to
Definitely.
that. Yeah. So anyway, so please subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, 2 for the Win is the podcast name. You can find it on all major platforms. Subscribe so that you can be alerted when new episodes drop. And really looking forward to go on this journey with all of you winners. So Nick, any last closing remarks before we wrap?
Continue to follow us. Give feedback, please, because we want to adapt whatever we're doing based on the feedback of the listeners. And then we can go from there. But excited for the journey and to take you all with us.
So I started off with hello, winners. Now I'll say goodbye, winners. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Be well.
Bye-bye.